And so when you allow toxic things into your spirit, it affects your life. And it'll affect everything that you do just the same. You know? And there's no spiritual hospital, but there's a way of dealing with those things. Philippians 4:8 says, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." So basically he's saying one thing, think about these things. Why would he be telling us to think about those things? Why would he say one final thing and leave us with that?
So you can push out the bad things out of your mind.
Right. You think about people that struggle with depression. What if they just did that? It'd be hard to be depressed. It would be hard to be discouraged. It would be hard to be negative. You wouldn't be able to. And so what would that produce in your life would be joy and freedom and the kind of life that you want to live. Really, a lot of it is, well, it's called the heart. The spiritual heart is the mind. And this is it, your heart. My Pastor Rich always says your heart is in your head. Because when the Bible's talking about your heart, it's not talking about the organ in your chest. There was a story one time that someone had a heart transplant. And they had a heart transplant. And what happened was when they transplant, you always see movies on this, they transplanted the heart. And then the person started remembering things from the previous person's life. And, you know, able to solve crime. You always see movies. Yeah, that's the stupidest thing in the world. A heart doesn't receive information or data. It pumps whatever's put into it. That's all a physical heart. It doesn't remember anything. It does its job. So if you put good blood with good nutrients and oxygen in it, then it pumps it throughout the body. But on the opposite side, if you put crap into it or bad blood, guess what it does? Pumps it throughout the entire body. It doesn't differentiate. It doesn't clean. What it does is what goes in, it will pump throughout. And the spiritual heart, which is your mind, works the same way. What you think about, it will pump that throughout your life. So he's saying, hey, think about these good things, and good things will be pumped throughout your life. But if you let toxic thinking or negative thinking, you ever been around negative people? Like they're always negative. You get around, you're like, oh, you can feel the weight. And what's happening? What's happening? What's that?
I said myself.
He goes, yeah, I know one. Me. That's awesome. But so the first thing you got to realize is the spiritual heart is your mind. It says in Matthew 15:19. It says, listen, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts. Do you see why now it's the mind? From out of the heart produces evil thoughts. And it says murders, adulteries, fornication, thefts, false witness, lies, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. So it talks about your thoughts are what defile you. So what's in our mind? That's why he says think about these things. I'll tell you what. Being selfless, like people, you think humble people are people that think negative about themselves. No, it's not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. When you're sitting in a group of people and you're concerned with other people more than you are yourself, it's hard to be discouraged. People, when you're depressed or discouraged, I promise you the number one thing you're thinking about is you. How does this, even when you try to make it sound more spiritual, well, I'm concerned for them. Really, it's how do they make me feel, or how does that affect me? How do I feel responsible? But positive thoughts produces a positive life. Name some things or some thoughts that are toxic to our minds. You guys all said that you have these thoughts, so you share some. You get quiet like, oh no, I don't have any.
Well, when people say things about you, you try to shrug it off, but really, you continue to think about a lot of times. Those words hang with you, you know?
Yeah. Yep. A lot of times there's negativity outside of us, but we can't let it get inside us. Some negative thoughts.
When you sit down and do bills.
There you go.
Might as well throw that out there. I always take the worst case scenario. My wife used to call me Mr. Negativity.
It was always the worst case scenario.
It was, yeah, if something happened, the end of the world. It was right behind it.
It's true, but it's easy to start getting wrapped up in that kind of thing. Or if a couple things happen bad all at one time. That's the worst. Because, you know, you can, like, a few things can happen, like at 9 in the morning, you'll say things like, oh, this day's ruined. You know, it's been like 30 minutes. You ever notice that if you're having a good day, one bad thing can jack it all up? But if you're having a bad day and one good thing happens, it doesn't seem to penetrate how much crap's going on. Like one good thing happens, you go, yeah, it's about time. But if one bad thing happens in a good day, it's like, you know? Because in the natural, we lean towards the negative, you know? A lot of people think that the quiet people are nice people. Just because they're not saying it doesn't mean they're not thinking it. I'm not trying to get you paranoid about people when they're quiet. You're like, you know? But the reality is, we have to take the Bible says we take our thoughts captive. You can't just allow your head to think about whatever it thinks about, because generally, if you're in the natural mind, it's going to start thinking about negative things. Or you're going to start falling into things like comparison. Well, how come they have this and I don't? Or how come they're able to do that and I can't? How come this? How come that? You start comparing. You ever notice we never compare ourselves to the people that we should to make us better? We either compare ourselves to somebody that has a lot more or gets a lot more than we get, so we can feel down about it. Or when we're doing wrong, we compare ourselves to people that are all jacked up so we can feel better about doing wrong. Make sense? I call it the thief watching TV syndrome. You know, thief's sitting there watching TV and the guy gets busted for stealing and he goes, oh man, that guy was probably trying to feed his family. And he probably had a good reason, and look how they're treating him. Immediately there's compassion. You know, and then there's somebody that, then there's someone on the TV that shot someone. Oh, you know what? He needs to go to prison for life. Death sentence. See, the stuff that's worse than us, it's like drop the hammer on him. But the stuff where we're at, it's like, well, maybe he had some reasons. So we allow our thinking to get distorted by the things that we're doing or the things that we allow to impact us. And you're never going to get around negative or get away from negative people. Things we can help them. You know what I mean? Not always. Not always. But it starts really with what's in our heart. What do we think about? Because that's what's going to affect the majority of your life. The Bible says, you know, it's not what goes in your mouth that makes you unclean, but what comes out of your mouth. If you want to know what's in your heart and the way you think, listen to what comes out of your mouth. Think about everything you say over a course of a day, regardless of who's around. And look at that and say, that's what's in my heart. Because people don't make you say things. It's already in there. You know how people say, you pushing my buttons. You're on my last nerve. Remove your buttons. Someone should be able to come up and say one word to you that disrupts your whole day. They shouldn't be able to make a comment about your family. They shouldn't be able to make a comment about your nationality, whether you're Mexican, black, white, Indian. They shouldn't be able to make one comment that ruins your day. Because that means there's something going on inside of you. You know what I mean? You don't give people control over your lives. You don't let them make a comment and disrupt your day. Because that, remember, what people say says more about who they are than who I am. If people are being negative, it doesn't mean that I'm all jacked up. It means they're jacked up. And that doesn't mean we get mad at them, but that means you have to realize that. Hurting people hurt people. When people are going through a difficult time, they lash out. It doesn't make it right. It's not acceptable, but it's reality. People need love the most when they deserve it the least.